Hi there. Very charming of you to come here because we are going to set up a very charming server. Okay, when I say very charming, we're going to set up an email server that the address is going to be Steve, of course you can use your own name, at very charming. That's Steve at very dot charm dot I dot ng. That's our new domain. And we're going to make an email address there, and it's just going to be temporary, so don't send me messages. So let's open up the directions. We're going to get... Okay, so we have the directions open, and here they are. We're going to install now the email server for the charming corporate email server. However, a lot of the commands that we have are good for any of our email servers, as the scripts are the same for our other servers. If you'd like to install it, just go to the AWS Marketplace. You can type in charming mail, and you should get all of our mail servers. Let's see if it works. Here you go. All right. And right now we're giving instructions for the charming corporate email server using Sendmail. There are lots of other servers also that have Sendmail. Also some postfix soon. But right now it's Sendmail. So what we're going to do is you're going to launch it from the AWS Marketplace. Say you'll go into the product over here, and you'll agree to the terms and all that kind of stuff, and you'll receive an email. First you'll say I want it, and then they're going to send you an email, and only after you approve the email that you want the actual product, only then can you launch it. It doesn't work one click unless you're already subscribed. All right, so just be careful when you that it doesn't just work right away. You got to get the email and answer it. So we're going to launch the server, which miraculously, of course, we already have one open. Hi again. So we have our server all up and running, and we've got our DNS open because I'm going to show you before you actually configure the server. You need to have your DNS all set up, and we're going to use Route 53 for this. So here you see we have the hosted zone set up for the domain, subdomain charm.i.ng, and we have an A record for very.charm.i.ng, and an MX record for very.charm.i.ing. Why do we need two of them? We need the A record is for regular lookup of the server. Say if you had a web server on it, so it would use the DNS when you type in very.charm.i.ng, it would know, oh, I look up that number 34.23.232.151.146. Now when you send an email to a server, it uses a totally different method, and that's called an MX record. The MX record is one of those things that goes way back to the very beginning of the internet. And people would have different servers for different things. You might have heard that the internet could withstand an ICBM nuclear explosion. This is what it means. It doesn't mean the World Wide Web, because that was created years after they said that. What it means is with the email servers, because you can have several email servers as backups. So you can have like one in California and one in Seoul, wherever you want. So the higher the number, the lower the number, the more important it is. So we're just going to use 10, and we're going to only have one of them. So the MX record is going to have 10 space very.charm.i.ng, and it's going to have an MX record. All right, and the A record is very simple. That's the default. Okay, if you're not using subdomain, just leave this blank. Over here, you leave it blank. Write the IP address here, and then you'll use, if you'd like, the same, you'll refer to that A record over here, you refer to it, and you'll put the number 10 in front of it. This is all explained in the directions, which you can find at charming cloud.net. Okay, so now you see we have this IP address. This IP address is refers to an elastic IP address, which we have already prepared. You'll need to make a new one. When you make a new one, so here's our instance. We see you might have several of them, so you should remember like the instance ID and all that kind of stuff. So now we have the elastic IPs. If you don't have one, you're going to do allocate new address, and it's just going to create it for you, and then you'll go back to this window and you're going to right click on it and you're going to press associate address. Since we have only one, it's pretty simple, but you can, if you have a bunch, you can do by instance, by network interface, by private IP address. But we just have one, so we're not going to really make a mistake. If you put a note in the first column of the EC2, it'll show up here, so you can remember if you have a bunch of them. So we're just going to do attached now. I think it's below my picture. Look at that. Associate. Okay. So now we'll put the picture again here. All right. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're gonna go to very. All right. We're using this Bitvice SSH client. You can use whatever SSH client you'd like. We're gonna SSH into very.charming. No, we're gonna do changing the address here. very.charm.i.ng. NG is like a Nigerian domain, but they sell it with an I in front of it, and that makes it charming. I've also heard they have IOUS. You can get like an American one, .us, .i, .o, .us, like delicious or scrumptious. Okay, but here we're charming. Very.charming. We're going to use port 22, and I think I have the correct key here already. And we're going to press login. We're going to accept the key for this thing. Okay, now, as you might remember, right? So now we know that our A record works already because we just used it. We typed in to SSH into that server, very.charm.i.ing. So that shows us that the A record is working properly. We want to see that the MX record is also working properly. You can check that like in MX tools, or you can do NS lookup. We're just going to assume that it works because it worked earlier today. So now we would like to make our Sendmail server work, that we can send and receive emails to and from it. So let's go back to our handy dandy instructions. Okay. Get rid of this one. And here we have the instructions. Now we already did the DNS. We did just the end part of it. We're just going to scroll through this. Okay. And here we are. Set up your charming corporate email server for Sendmail. So the first thing we're going to do is log in via SSH, which we just did. So now we would like to set up our email domain. So we're going to type in this command. This is a script that we've supplied. We're going to do sudo to do it as root. We're going to do sudo set up email. Right, and then the end of it is your domain name. Don't just leave it, your domain. Okay, so we're gonna type this into the window here, and we're gonna type our very.charm.i.ng. All right, this edits a bunch of files. It changes the host name, and it changes the Sendmail setup. So you don't have to spend your time changing all these little variables. You just run this script and it miraculously works. Okay, we hope that it miraculously worked. A good way to see if it miraculously worked, let's open another shell window. And here you see it says very, because it's just using the the subdomain part of the domain. So it changed its host name to Very. Okay, so now this is set up. If we want to send an email from here, we can send it, and if we want to receive an email, it'll get it to there's only two users there now that exist. Those are EC2-user and root, which shouldn't use those too much. You probably want to have your own email address, and like I said, we're going to start having Steve at very.charm.i.ng. So we're going to run the next script, right? Here it says to restart the email server, which we did already because I added it to the script after I wrote the instructions. All right, and so now we're going to make the email server, the email users. So we're going to add regular Linux users, like Unix users. We're going to do sudo add user. And we're going to say Steve. Okay. Great. So now that's done. Steve is all set up. So now user Steve needs a password. So we're going to do, we're going to hopefully do it this time without any typos. Okay, password, right? PASSWD, Steve, right? And we're going to so we forgot sudo. Let's put sudo in front of it. Sudo makes it run as root. And now we're going to add our new password. You can add whatever password you would like. I put in a password that I will remember, and I won't tell it to you. All right. So now we're basically all set up. We can send and receive some emails. Let's just we're a little antsy-pantsy, so let's try to send an email to our regular address, which is so we're gonna do just do a command line just to see that this works. Okay, Sendmail Steve at charming.co.il. Not even going to bother adding a subject, and we're going to say test for YouTube vid, and then the last line we can write as much as we want in this. It's kind of like a editor, a very ancient one. You type a dot at the end and it sends it off. So now let's check mail queue and see that it got sent off. Oh, again it wants. Okay, well, if the mail queue is empty, so that means it probably sent it. So now I'm going to take you into my very private email account. No, I didn't really plan, and here we have it. Here we have our email that we sent. So now if we do reply, we will see it. Okay, all right, I got it. And press send. And now we're going to do the next part of this. The very next part of this is to add an account. So now we're going to add an account for Steve at very.charm.i.ng. Okay, and we're going to select advanced options, and we're going to say set up my account manually, because you need to add your own certificate, your own SASL2 certificate to this server, which we cover elsewhere. But right now, since you don't have that, every time if you try to connect using a secure port, every time it's going to tell you, would you like to view the certificate? Would you like to view the certificate? Would you like to view the certificate? Have you seen the certificate yet? And every time you got to click yes. So instead, we're just going to use a plain text login, which is not the most secure. But I know you probably just want to get going. So we're going to do that. And here we have in our back to our handy dandy instructions. All right, all of this. There's over here we discuss making virtual users, which when you have more than one domain you need to do, but the system was set up that you don't have to do it. Originally you had to do it. All right, so here we're up to the Outlook settings. Really, really simple. We'll see how long this video will be in the end, but I'm sure it won't be too long. Okay, so now we're gonna go back here and we're gonna choose our IMAP. We're gonna choose. And instead of using port 993, we're going to do what it says here. We're going to put port 143 and encryption method none, and that's for incoming email server. And for outgoing, we're also going to use none, and we're going to use port 25. So here we said port 143, and here we said port 25, and here it has SSL TLS, and we got rid of that. So now, we press next, and we type in our secret password, which nobody should remember. You should remember your password, but hopefully nobody else will. Okay, let's see if it's working. Well, say over here, it says username steve@very.charm.ing. You don't need that because this is our system, and we only have one username per email address. So like if you have, say, the same first name and they need to go to different domains, you could have like steve@very.charm.i.ng and steve@most.charm.i.ng. But the username will need to be different even if the email address is the same. That was you can do that with the virtual tables that we didn't show you. All right, so here now it should work. Over here it's asking again. Okay, right. Okay. Account setup is complete. Would you like to set it up? You could even set it up on your phone if you have Outlook on your phone. All right, and we pressed OK. All right, all of these directions are here, and of course this address for the directions we're going to include in the link at the bottom of YouTube. And now here we have our test message. All right, but what happened to the other message that we should have received? All right, let's see. Didn't get it. Why didn't we get it? Okay, let's try again. All right. It's because we sent it to EC2 user instead of to Steve. We sent the email from EC2 user instead of from Steve. Aha. So now, if we send an email to steve@very.charm.i.ng, and we're going to do test 2 for YouTube vid. We're going to press send. All right, and this is from a totally different server. This is using SES also to send the email. All right, now it's sending. So now we'll go back to this inbox. And we should get our email. Let's see. Oh. There we go. There we have it. Yay for us. Okay, so here we set up in not an incredibly long time, not an incredibly long video, all of the directions. We followed it. Look, we even got to the bottom of the page. All right. And so that's really good, and it's really easy for you to set up an email server for your corporation. You can add as many users as you'd like. Just get yourself as much disk space as you like. It comes standard with 16 gigabytes of disk space, and you could add as much as you want. 16 gigabytes is probably good for 10, 15 users, depending on how much email. And if by the way, I'll show you another trick, extra trick for watching this video. If you would like to copy your old email from an old IMAP or POP account, all you have to do is grab it from here, and if you just drag it down here, drag it to inbox, and that's it. You can do that with thousands and thousands of messages, because we were talking about how much space. All right, so you see we can do that. We can mix it. Okay, so I really hope you guys enjoy using the charming corporate email server. These instructions work also for any of our other email servers, other Sendmail servers, because we have some on Windows also. So we'd like to wish you luck.